Well, good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on www.1240news.com. The show will also be archived on www.rowellauctions.com, they are the sponsor of the show. And also, we're going to try to put it on YouTube, www.youtube.com. We are going to talk about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We have lots of topics today, and to help us out, we have 6 or 7 real estate and auction leaders calling in today. Let me go over our schedule and a few things about the people who will be calling in. We have Stanley Tate going to be calling in. He's the CEO of Tate Enterprises, the former RTC head from North Miami, Florida. We have Randy Morris, who is the CEO of Insite Commercial, which is in Detroit, Michigan. Michael Fay, who's the president of Colliers International in the Miami, Florida office. Marla Webb from Prescient Asset Management, which is a FDIC contractor. John Lewinger, who is founder of Grubb and Ellis Commercial in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Walter Liff, who is the CEO from Action Auctions in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And we have Tommy Rowell, the president of Rowell Auctions from Moultrie, Georgia, be calling in. So we're gonna be calling in a lot of people who are basically leaders and experts in their field. About our sponsor, Rowell Auctions is the national real estate auction leader that started in 1936. They do online auctions, on-site auctions, and ballroom auctions. They have offices in Georgia and Florida and have alliances with auctioneers and real estate brokers across the country. They do government auctions, bankruptcy auctions, and much more. They have a big auction schedule coming up, so check out their website on www.rowellauctions.com. That's www.rowellauctions.com. Or you can call them at 800-323-8388. Again, 800-323-8388. We've got a caller, and let's go right to him.
Good morning, Doug.
Stanley.
It's Stanley Tate.
Hey, how are you doing, sir?
I'm just doing fine, thank you.
Well, very, very good. Thank you so much for calling in and being the first guest of the show. And I wanted you. I went after you, and you said yes. So thank you so much.
And it's a pleasure to be with you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. You were the former RTC head, and for listeners, what is the RTC? What was the RTC, and what were you charged with?
Well, the Resolution Trust Corporation, which is what the letters RTC stands for, was a federal act under the guidelines of an act designated as FIREA, was a Federal Reform Act, having to do with the savings and loan problems with the savings and loan banks. Initially, it expanded its program and its efforts to take in commercial banks as well. And it was designed to eliminate certain types of banking operations that caused a large number of problems in many banks throughout the country, primarily federal and state-chartered banks. And it was very effective. The bill allowed it to last a lifetime of 5 years with 2 one-year extensions on petition to Congress. And it had a lot of power. And primarily to close a bank. If the RTC felt that a bank was uneconomical and had risks of defaulting on its commitments and its deposits, the Resolution Trust had federal authority to go in and close the bank.
Okay.
So it was a very effective organization. It actually did what it was charged to do. It closed 1 out of every 4 savings and loan in the United States. It went after bankers that did illegal acts, not unethical, but illegal acts.
Right.
went after him through the criminal court division of the federal government, and actually put a large number of bankers in federal penitentiary. And it was a very effective and well-operated organization, which in fact did save the banks that were in trouble, eliminated a large number of operations that bank had undertaken in the feeling they had that right. I think it was more of an opportunity than a right. Mm-hmm. And it effectively sold off a substantial amount of assets, took over the banks, sold those banks. It had the authority to take over. Under the legislation, that authority was given en banc, meaning the entire banking system was covered, and they didn't have to. The RTC did not have to go to Congress to get permission to close a single bank. They had the authority in a broad brush format, which gave them the right to go in on a Friday, close the bank. In fact, we closed approximately 1,400 banks.
Wow.
Several hundred of those were commercial banks, not savings and loans, but that essentially was its right, authority, and it was extremely effective. It cured the problem. It did extend its lifetime to the 2 one-year extensions, but essentially it got rid of $430 billion worth of assets, and it did what it was supposed to do under the federal guidelines.
Well, this show is intended for basically an educational experience for listeners and a promotional format for auctions across the country. And you had involvement with auctions, and basically I'm going to say the RTC put auctions in the minds of buyers and sellers and brokers across the country for several years. Give us a little history on that.
Well, as you probably know better than most, I was extremely reluctant to utilize bankruptcy as a form of cure and auctions as a form of cure. Mm-hmm. And I think primarily in hindsight it was because of my lack of knowledge of how effective an auction could be. The purpose in taking over these banks was not to preserve the asset, but to sell the asset. In order to sell an asset, it's a much more effective tool to utilize an auction. I didn't believe that to be a fact, but it is. And in actuality, the Resolution Trust proved it was by the large number of auctions that we handled through auspices of various auction companies. And I must say, Mr. Dennison, you of all people ought to have a good memory of what took place when the RTC was getting its feet wet with auctions, because I dealt with you and I said to you, it won't work, you won't get the amount of money and all the other things, and you stood steadfast in your opinion that I was wrong, and of course then you proved me wrong. So, trial by error is what succeeded in getting auctions a way to dispose of a substantial amount of assets owned by the Resolution Trust by taking over or disposing of assets of troubled banks.
Well, I want to talk about that one auction that we did together, and it was one of the first ones for the RTC.
You want to embarrass me?
No, I don't want to embarrass you.
I'm kidding.
I know that. But one of the things that you were, I finally convinced you to do the auction was a bank building in Miami Beach. It was kind of a small place, but right on Washington Street, if I remember correctly. And
Washington Avenue, I'll never forget it.
Washington Avenue. And one of the reasons why you decided to have an auction is because you did have interest, but you weren't sure on what was the proper value of the property, number one, and number two, every one of the offers were different. Some were with financing, some weren't, some had a lower down payment, all that kind of stuff. So we talked together, and you agreed to an absolute auction, which means absolute it sells. There's no tomorrow. So if you're interested, come to the auction that day. And if my memory serves, we had almost 15, 16 bidders there. It was appraised, I think, at the time about $450,000. And because of the competition, the final price was $1.3 million. And it was, again, a great auction, a great way to start auctions for the RTC. And you became a believer.
Well, it was a great way to start auctions for the RTC because the property sold for substantially more money than the absolute price because it was intensive bidding. Mm-hmm. I think the prep work in the auction was, to a great degree, responsible for the activity. My concern, of course, was that either no one would bid or that the starting prices would be so low we couldn't afford to sell it.
Right.
And that's how we turned it around into an absolute auction where there was a minimum price. I mean, you might as well take the credit for convincing me that was what was going to happen. I doubted it. As a matter of fact, I more than doubted it. I was pretty well convinced it couldn't happen, that it wouldn't sell for the amount of money we established as an absolute minimum price. And the activity of the bidders drove the price up. It actually sold, if I remember right, for about $300,000 more than the minimum. Active bidding was sold without financing on an all-cash basis. And the interesting part, and you don't know this, Doug, but the guys who bought it was a group, said to me it was probably the best buy they ever made, which was interesting because they were absolute real estate buyers. They wanted this particular building for a particular purpose. But I must tell you, it was a lesson that I don't forget so easily. And that's primarily because I had no knowledge of how auctions worked. But the prep work in an auction is a very important part of it. The manner in which the auction is handled, how many participants are actively involved, how you set it up, how well you handle the closings. I mean, all the things that we learned after that first auction when I walked away convinced that auctions was a very valuable and solid means to dispose of assets. You've got to understand that the Resolution Trust Corporation only was attempting to get the highest and best price and get rid of the asset.
Right.
And because of that, the auction did both. It got rid of the asset, and it established the highest and best price. And invariably, in many, many instances, we got monies in excess of the minimum bid. So I'm a believer.
Well, I know you are, and I appreciate that. Let's fast forward now, many years later. And again, we're kind of in the same situation, but maybe even bigger than certainly it was back then. Tell me I talked to you yesterday. You've been up in Washington. What are you doing up in Washington? And I think you even told me that CNN interviewed you a couple of days ago. Tell me what's happening up there, and how do you give your perspective on what's happening in for our markets, the residential, commercial, and the economy today?
Well, essentially, I gave a speech to a very large group of professional real estate people, some bankers, a large number of prospective purchasers of real estate. I would say the group that was comprised of about 400 a little less than 400 individuals, but they came from very high-level companies that were in the real estate business for many years, either as developers, operators, purchasers, syndications, you name it, they were there. Mm-hmm. The speech was really having to do with the status of the real estate market currently, broken down into two primary categories of residential versus commercial. And we talked about the status of the market today as it relates to distressed property, on the residential side, and whether or not it was bottoming out in spite of the fact that financing was not very much available. The commercial banks were not lending money so easily. And the other part of it that we talked about was the general economy of the United States and the concern that I expressed of the huge amount of debt that the country had accumulated in the last few years. And we're on a pathway of deficit spending. And I was concerned that we already were at $14.3 trillion, and we were exceeding the allowable amount that the federal government was allowed to borrow. And actually, as you are more aware than most, today it stopped. That the federal government can't borrow anymore because it reached that maximum level of borrowing. So it's before Congress, and Congress has to make a determination as to whether or not they're going to allow the federal government to borrow more money. Mm-hmm. If they don't allow it, if no bill is passed, literally the federal government is shut down. Wow. I know that sounds a little hard to believe, but it will be shut down if the Congress don't take an affirmative action. Now, in order to prevent it from being, we've already reached the date where it had to be done. They extended it first for 2 weeks, and then this past week they extended it for another 3 weeks. But I could tell you there won't be any more extensions based upon the conversations I've had with members of Congress. The Republicans are absolutely adamant that there's going to be a reduction in the current year's budget, and the Democrats have taken a strong position that entitlements have to be recognized. Entitlements meaning contractual entitlements, pension plans that the unions may have organized are large, and some very valid, some not so valid. But in any event, that's the two positions, and they're diametrically opposite each other. And compromise is going to have to come about in order for Congress to resolve that issue, because it must be resolved, or believe it or not, the United States government, as an entity that is very involved in the business community, will be shut down.
Well, Stanley,
it's hard to believe, right?
It is hard to believe, and I could probably talk to you for the entire hour if I could grab all of your time. But I want to thank you so much. Again, folks, this is Stanley Tate, CEO of Tate Enterprises in North Miami, Florida, a leader in our banking system and owner of banks. And Stanley, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Doug, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I thank you for asking me to come on your program, and it's always a pleasure to be able to once again renew a very good friendship that came about from an auction of a bank many, many years ago.
Thank you, Stanley. Take care.
Thank you, Doug.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we've just had Stanley Tate on, and we have another caller. You're on the air.
It's Michael Fay. How are you, Doug?
Hey, Mike. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thanks. A little early out here in Arizona, but it's good.
It's funny because you are from Colliers International. You have a great office in Miami. We've worked together before, and so we want to talk Miami, but you're in Arizona right now.
I'm actually at the Colliers Market Leaders meeting out here in Arizona, so we're happy to be on, Doug. Thanks so much.
Well, tell me a little bit about Colliers International for the listeners.
Colliers International is one of the largest commercial real estate firms in the country as well as globally. We handle assets in all the major markets and tertiary markets as well, and it goes from leasing, management, receivership, investment sales, and pretty much of all product types. We have an appraisal service group, and we also have a lot of other ancillary corporate services groups that come into play across the country. So it's been a great firm, and it's got a lot of platforms that we utilize, which we've done with you in the past. Even we've utilized your auction services, which has been a great part.
That's true. And again, I want to talk to you about that. The purpose of this show is to provide educational experience for our listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. Tell us about the auction that we just did together.
is got to go back a little bit. This is a $35 million shopping center down in Miami, Florida, a little over 120,000 square foot in square footage and space. It was a foreclosure by one of the special servicers, which is a part of the CMBS mortgage market loans, and the loan was for $25 million. We were appointed as receiver and plan trustee. We were managing and helping lease this property. And during that time, the borrower also filed bankruptcy. That was when we were also appointed as plan trustee to help liquidate and sell off the asset. The debtor and creditor both agreed upon a plan. That's when we decided, through our Colliers platform and also utilizing your auction services, to go out and auction this property. What was interesting is we had appraisals on the property in the $16 and $17 million range.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, utilizing your auction group as well as ours in widely marketing. One of the biggest keys today in marketing foreclosures and these REO properties, real estate-owned properties by banks and special servicers, is to be able to report to them that you've widely marketed and shown the property to all the potential people.
Mm-hmm.
So when a sale does come, they can take that, they can take the price and move forward. And also, it's much more special for the bankruptcy courts to really show that you're doing this for the court system, not only for the lender, but you're doing it for the court system. We ended up having probably over 800 to 1,000 people look at the property and review the property. And on auction day, we had very stringent auction guidelines on this one because the courts had demanded this. So they had all the people that were going to participate had to come in with very large deposits. They had to be dealt at an early time frame. They had to sign contracts early. There was a lot of other stipulations, but needless to say, we had about 8 or 9 different bidders at the auction. And Doug, I got to tell you, it was a great job. We went and sold the property at $21 million.
It was.
So remember, it was appraised for $16, $17 million, and we got 21. So when you think about that, it was a real success. And the amount of bidding that went back and forth, you could probably tell us how many times the bidders went back and forth, but it was a lot of bids.
161 bids. I think it's a bankruptcy record, to be honest.
Well, it was a job well done, not only by your group, but also Colliers. By doing this with your group, we really had a great way to go out and market this and to really bring it in. The lender, the borrower, the bankruptcy court, everybody was happy with what we've done.
Well, exactly correct, and that's just one way that brokers work with auctioneers, getting together, selling it together, also bringing buyers. There were several real estate brokers who brought buyers to that auction. And again, $21 million, this was in November of last year in Miami, and in a great job. We are getting close to a break. What I'd like you to do is to give people contact information, how they can reach you, because you are one of the leaders in the Miami market, and I want to point people your way, not only on this show but archived on our website and also on YouTube.
That's great. Well, it's Michael Fay, F-A-Y, president of Colliers International, South Florida, and my email address is Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L Fay, F-A-Y, at Colliers.com. My main office number is 305-446-0011. And those are the best places to reach me. And, again, Doug, we've really enjoyed working with your group as well as the other brokers and everyone else.
Well, I hope we can do it again. And again, thank you. This isn't a long interview. I want to have a whole bunch of people coming in on this particular show. I promise and hope you'll be invited and want to be on again for another show.
Absolutely, Doug. And, we appreciate it, and we will continue to work with each other. And, as a matter of fact, there may be a couple new things coming up ourselves. So we'll be in touch.
Very good. Mike, thank you, and good luck in Arizona.
Thank you so much, Doug, and we appreciate the time.
Bye-bye.
It's time to visit the St. Johns County Flea Market. Great deals every weekend. Every weekend there's great bargains, great food at the St. Johns County Flea Market. Get off I-95 at State Road 207. I-95 at 207. You want to be a vendor? Booth rentals start at only $10 a day. Churches and charities, you can get a free booth 2 days a month. And for everybody else, there's great deals at the St. Johns County Flea Market. 824-4210, stjohnsfleamarket.com.
Licensed by the state as a skilled nursing facility and certified for a broad range of payer types, the Ponce Therapy Care Center's team of professionals is committed to providing the best nursing care and rehabilitation services. Choosing a skilled nursing facility for a loved one is always a difficult decision. At the Ponce Therapy Care Center, our admissions and social service staff assist you in making an informed, caring decision. We provide information about our facility, determine your payment options, and strategize about your loved one's regimen of care, length of stay, and expected discharge to home. At the Ponce Therapy Care Center, we are proud that over 90% of those admitted to our rehabilitation program successfully return to home. In an industry that is often seen as the final alternative, our goal is to become your first option and facility of choice for skilled nursing and rehab services. The Ponce Therapy Care Center is located at 1999 Old Moultrie Road. Call us at 824-3311 or visit us online at poncecarecenter.com.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever I did to make you upset. To make you upset enough to expose me to arsenic, cyanide, and more. Your secondhand smoke contains chemicals that cause ear infections, asthma, or worse. For me to be healthy, I need you to be strong and beat your addiction for good.
To be tobacco-free, call the Florida Quit Line at 877-YOU-CAN-NOW or visit floridaquitline.com. Brought to you by the St. Johns County Department of Health Tobacco Prevention Program.
The battle for putting supremacy is here again with the 8th Annual World Golf Hall of Fame Putting Championship. Sign up now. Players get a gift bag, Hall of Fame ticket, and lunch at the Fairways Cafe. Golfers compete for over $10,000 in prizes. Qualifying is March 19th and 20th and the 26th and 27th. The World Golf Hall of Fame Putting Tournament is sponsored by Coca-Cola, AT&T, Yellow Pages, PGA Tour Stop, and the Players. Learn more at worldgolfhalloffame.org or call 940-4010.
I'm local entrepreneur Marla Hamadou. Although I've had many successful business investments and multi-million-dollar ventures, my current association with Kivana Natural Health Products has the greatest potential. And best of all, it's a company you can easily become part of. In our current economy, it's a great opportunity with limitless income potential. For more information about how you can become part of Kivana, please call 904-392-5849. That's 904-392-5849.
Okay, we are back. It is the National Real Estate Auction Radio program, and I'm your host, Doug Dennison. We have listened to Stanley Tate, who is from North Miami, the former RTC head. Great interview. He is a leader of men in the banking industry and real estate. He has done it all. We also had Michael Fay call in, who's the president of the Colliers International office in Miami, Florida, and we are pleased to continue. We have a new caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. This is Marla Webb. How are you?
Well, fine. Hey, Marla. How are you doing?
I'm doing extraordinarily well. Yourself?
Well, fine. We're on the air. We're broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, and of course on the internet worldwide. I wanted to talk to you. You have a history similar, kind of, to Stanley Tate, that you were involved in the RTC years ago, and you are a unbelievable real estate broker, manager, and basically an auction person that promotes auctions. Tell us a little bit what you did with the RTC.
Well, I worked as a government contractor for the Resolution Trust Corporation, submitted a proposal to assist the Resolution Trust Corporation, RTC, with the disposition of its commercial properties. Submitted a proposal as a woman-owned small business. My husband and I are both certified commercial investment members, CCIM, and they required the assistance of consultants and advisors with CCIM background, to assist them to structure the sale of commercial property, anything not 1 to 4 single-family residential valued at $500,000 and up. So everything you can think of, from branch banks to golf courses, all the way up to the Phoenician Resort in Phoenix. And we did a lot of those sales. We helped the RTC to write their policies and procedures and underwriting guidelines for their seller financing program. So the RTC sold the property and carried the paper, financed the acquisition with a substantial down payment and obviously stringent underwriting guidelines that we helped them develop. We sold a lot of those properties through auctions. Those were conducted in ballroom settings for the most part. We did have some internet involvement even back then, but a lot of call-in, a lot of open outcry ballroom type auctions all across the country. We sold in that program with seller financing. We assisted the RTC to sell $4.2 billion worth of property. Doesn't sound like a big number these days because we talk in trillions, but that was an awful lot of real estate, and it was a successful program.
It was a very successful program. Marla, what are you doing now?
Right now I'm working with Prescient Asset Management Company. Prescient is a contractor, a prime contractor for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC. Helped Prescient write the proposal for the FDIC, and we were successful in winning a national award to liquidate their ORE. The banks call it ORE, owned real estate, rather than REO for some unknown reason.
Right.
And that includes single-family residential, land and lots, and a scattering of very diverse types of commercial properties. We've been helping the FDIC now for a couple of years, and I stay involved in the marketing and business strategy planning for Prescient.
Well, very good. Do the FDIC, do they have auctions? Are you involved in any auctions that are upcoming or just regular sales? What are you doing now? We
do both, as a matter of fact. The FDIC has approved. Everything with the FDIC is managed on a case-by-case basis. In fact, our asset managers write a disposition case for nearly every property. Obviously, if you have a 12-lot subdivision, the case is the same for all 12 lots if they're selling individually.
Right.
Or it could be a separate case for selling the entire 12-lot project. But for the commercial assets, you can imagine the business case gets a little detailed. We do write auction cases for approval with the FDIC, and the FDIC approves the auction inventory based on that case. We've had several auctions, and we're planning on having others. I think that the best I could do for you is direct you to Prescient's website in order to look for upcoming auctions.
That's perfect. Give us that website.
Okay. We also do sealed bids, which are slightly different, as you know.
Right.
The website is the numeral 4, Prescient, that's P like Papa, RESCIENT .net. So it's the numeral 4 Prescient.net. Prescient is a word that means forward thinking.
Right.
So we like to associate ourselves with that kind of attribute. And in forward thinking, we often do put up auction properties. And if you'll go to 4prescient.net, then you can see what's coming.
Is there a telephone number too for people who are challenged and want to talk to somebody?
Yes, and I so seldom use it. I'll look it up while we continue to talk.
No problem. This is an internet show, so they should go on the internet website.
Let me just give you one toll-free number.
Okay.
That has to do with an upcoming sealed bid sale, and
Perfect.
that will track your
Perfect.
listeners to
Yep.
the proper people.
Okay.
It's 877-878-25. So that's 877-878-2289.
Well, perfect. Hey, listen, I want you on this show another time so we can talk more. I'm trying to get a lot of people in for this first show. Marla, you're the best, and I appreciate it. Good luck with your FDIC contracts, and hopefully there'll be buyers out there that will help.
Thanks, Doug, and same to you. Best wishes. Let me know how I can help.
All right, Marla, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, you're on the air.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Randy.
How are you?
I'm fine. I apologize. Thank you so much for calling in. You're listening to the Auction Radio Show, and you are from the Detroit area. We've worked together before. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Randy.
Well, Doug, I've been in the business about 19 years. I started a firm back in 2001 called Insite Commercial. Was fortunate enough to be able to sell it at the top end of the market in 2006 to one of the international brokerage firms, and have an even more fortune because of the market to be able to buy it back. So I've got my name back, and my non-compete is gone, and I'm in the midst of rebuilding the firm.
Well, you and I, this is an auction show. We're here to promote auctions and tell people how they can be successful. You and I, we did an auction in the state of Michigan. It was, I believe, the largest real estate auction in the state of Michigan. You were a broker who brought the buyer. Tell us a little bit about that property and what did the thing finally sell for?
Well, the property eventually sold for $31.5 million. And you're right, it was one of the largest state-owned auction properties, I believe, in the history of Michigan so far. Located in Northville, Michigan, 414 acres. And Northville is one of the suburbs of the Detroit market on the west side. It's one of the more affluent communities. And the property that was acquired by my clients is a mixed-use project, with residential, retail, and medical included. Since, Doug, you probably aren't aware, there has been a purchase of the portion of the property, leaving my clients 90 acres left. The portion that was purchased, roughly 300-plus acres, was sold for $25 million.
Well, very good. Very good. I mean, the reason why auctions are successful is people perceive them to be bargains, and they hope to hold on to it and then sell it and make a profit. So that is good stuff. Randy, I want you on the show for a good long interview, and today is kind of crazy because of our schedule. Can you give us some information on how people can contact you? Because I know people want to know about the commercial market in Detroit, and also maybe your insight in regards to the residential.
Okay, well, let me start with the residential, then I'll leave the contact information. Detroit, like most other markets, has really felt the pain in the residential markets, and it hit the Detroit market probably 18 months before the rest of the country, really felt the impact. Because that's happened, a lot of the developed inventory by developers that not yet had gone vertical on the property, most of that inventory is gone.
Right.
We are starting to see a bottoming out on housing prices. I think this year some markets will slide a little bit more from assessed values than other markets.
Yep.
But we're certainly seeing a bottom out on the pricing. We stay very close to that because we do a lot of the large land acquisitions. So Detroit will see a pretty modest 3,000 new housing starts this year.
Good.
And that's going to be, you're looking at product that's going to sell between 175 and 300.
Randy, how can people get a hold of you? Because this is what I want to do for you. I want to drive people your way to talk about selling their property or maybe buying some of your properties. What is your website and information?
Okay. My website is insitecommercial.com, and that is all one word, and it's spelled INSITE commercial, one word, .com. And the best way to reach me, and I'll give you a phone number, is 248-359-9000.
Randy, thank you so much, and I look forward to a longer interview a couple weeks down the road, and a good friend, and again, Randy Thomas from the Michigan area. Take care, Randy.
Thanks, Doug. Good luck.
You bet. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Doug. This is Walter.
Hey, Walter. How are you doing, sir?
Okay, thank you.
Well, good. We're talking to Walter Liff. Walter Liff is from New Hampshire and is an auctioneer for Action Auctions and does a fine job up there. We worked together many years ago, but tell me a little bit about yourself, Walter. Where are you from and what areas do you cover?
Well, I'm from New Hampshire, and we're located in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is really right on the seacoast. It's eastern part of New Hampshire, and we cover southern New Hampshire and southern Maine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a licensed auctioneer both in Maine and New Hampshire, and a licensed real estate broker as well.
Well, very, very good. You and I did some work together many, many years ago for condominiums. Can you remember about that auction?
Oh, yes, it was many years ago. We did an auction together. It was at a large ski resort that was a big condominium complex that wasn't able to sell the units as they anticipated. And you and I and the auction company you were representing at the time did a fabulous job marketing it nationwide. And we had about 134 condominium units to sell, and we sold them at absolute auction. We filled an entire tent with people, and it was a wonderful, successful auction. And we sold all the property as we promised the owners that we would at reasonable prices, and they were very pleased with it.
Well, very good. How many condos was it again?
It was 134.
134. Wow. I remember.
Condominium.
It took a while back then. I think we were in a big. Was it like a horse arena? Where was that?
No, it was in a big ski resort.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was in a large barn.
Barn.
Time.
Right.
Right. It was a large barn that was set up with all tables, and we had set up a stage and all. And you and your whole staff was there. We had 4 or 5 computers set up. It was myself as an auctioneer, and you had 2 other auctioneers as well from the other auction company.
Yep.
And we traded time, and we had bid spotters. It was a very active auction, and it was very successful, and we did a great job.
It was amazing. We had more than 1,000 people in the audience, if I remember correctly, and again, a great job for a seller, and you did a fantastic job on that. Tell us about foreclosure auctions, because it's a little bit different in your part of the woods than parts of the other country. Tell us about what happens at a foreclosure auction in your area.
Well, fortunately for our area, we haven't had, or it's been plagued with as many foreclosures as there are in some other areas.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The seacoast area has been holding its real estate properties, and the banks have been making good loans, so we haven't had that influx of foreclosures that other ones have. But I do foreclosure auctions, and when we do a foreclosure auction, we still have to do a commercially reasonable sale in order to get the highest and best price for the mortgagor, to show that we just didn't have the bank's best interest in mind, but we also had their best interest in mind as well. So we advertise the property as we would if we were going to sell it via the private treaty method, and show the mortgagor, that's the borrower, that we were working in their best interest so we could limit their liability or any deficiencies. And the auction method of marketing is the most logical and the surest method of getting that price.
Well, I agree with you completely. You just had a successful foreclosure auction a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Yes, we did, and we're having another one coming up in March 25th. that we've already had just through our internet advertising and mailing. We've had over 92 requests for bidder information packages.
Wow.
We pride ourselves in developing a large bidder information package so when people come to the auction, they're informed bidders and they know how to do their own due diligence to make an intelligent bid. And we encourage that.
People that want to contact you to find out about these auctions and to possibly utilize your services as an auctioneer, how can they get a hold of you, Walter?
You could contact me by going online at w.liff@actionauctions.com, or my website is www.actionauctions.com, or telephone number is area code 603-431-6317.
Well, very, very good, Walter. We're going to have you on a different week where we can talk to you longer. I thank you for calling in and being part of the first show.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Doug, and we do look forward to doing business for you in the future with the UN Raw Auction Company.
All right. Take care now. You're on the air. Hello.
Doug, Tommy.
Hey, Mr. Rowell. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine.
Well, good. Well, we've had a full list of guests on the show today. Person on the show that's just calling in is Thomas Rowell, who is the president and CEO of Rowell Auctions, and the sponsor of this program. And again, thank you so much for being a sponsor. And tell us a little bit about Rowell Auctions.
Thank you, Doug, and we are glad to sponsor the National Auction Real Estate Program. Rowell Auctions is a national auction firm with offices in Georgia, New Jersey, California, Florida, and Texas. And Rowell Auctions serves financial institutions in the sale of foreclosed real estate. And Rowell Auctions has several sales that are upcoming, and we've got lots of properties available for sale at auction only, and there are quite a few deals out there, Doug, to be had. The markets are good. It's a good time to be purchasing real estate.
Well, tell us about some of the auctions that are coming up, Tommy.
Well, thank you. We've actually got 6 properties coming up in Georgia that are going to be from residential properties to land tracts to poultry operations even. And those sales are from Macon County, north of Atlanta, in Hart County and Elbert County, wooded tracts. We've got beautiful home sites in Hart County, pasture lands, excellent for equestrian ventures. In fact, we've got a beautiful little equestrian farm that we'll be selling at auction in Winder, Georgia. So those are just a few that'll be coming up on April 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay.
These are going to be on-site auctions, but we have the ability for our bidders to bid online if you so desire. So if you can't be with us, you can certainly join us on the World Wide Web at www.rowellauctions.com. Click on upcoming auctions. Go find go to the asset that you're interested in, and click the Register Now button, and you get registered for the sale, and you can bid right there from the convenience of your home or office.
Oh, that's wonderful. Your firm has become more online, kind of a leader in the national real estate sector for online auctions. How did that start, and what kind of success are you getting?
Doug, it started 4 years ago when the financial crisis was building. We saw the need for an effective and efficient method to deliver assets to the market. And with online marketing growing every day, virtually 80% of Americans today have online access. And 70% of those people are buying properties, are buying goods online on a daily basis. So even our younger generations, they're most accustomed to bidding and buying at the convenience, at their convenience online, either through the mobile applications on their smartphones or either on the World Wide Web. So it's very easy to make those purchases, make those investments. And this is just a very efficient method that allows bidders from all over the world to come in and view properties, invest in those properties, make fine purchases with and it's very simple to and bidder friendly to use.
Well, you unveiled this new online option again a couple years ago. You're also involved with MarkNet Auction Alliance. Can you tell us about that group?
Yes, MarkNet Alliance is an alliance of 40 auction companies across America. We're licensed in 42 states, and the alliance has really built a huge following. We have cutting-edge technology that's available for our clients to offer their properties. Currently, we have over 50,000 registered bidders that have bid and bought properties on our online venues.
Wow.
We currently are receiving 350,000 unique visitors to our websites with over 7,750,000 page views monthly. So, Doug, we really have the opportunity to expose properties to the maximum extent, and that's what is driving the online sales today, is the exposure, the wide exposure, producing better results and top dollar for these assets.
Well, you've got more auctions that are upcoming. Give us your website one more time so people can call in or click on and tell us how we can be reached. You
can go to www.Rowell, R-O-W-E-L-L, auctions, AUCTIONS.com, or call our toll-free number at 800-323-8388. And again, that's 800-323-8388 and RowellAuctions.com. Doug, one other sale that we have coming up that is very exciting is 350 mountain properties in Georgia and western North Carolina. This is going to be an online sale. There are improved properties, beautiful homes, and there are lots, developed subdivision lots, as well as land tracts. So if you've been looking for that beautiful mountain retreat, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to participate. This is going to be both online and ballroom, so you can come to the ballroom sale will be held in Blairsville, Georgia, which is right up on the North Carolina line, or you may bid on RowellAuctions.com.
Hey, Tommy, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for being the sponsor of this show. And again, folks, all you need to do is go on RowellAuctions.com and see all of the upcoming auctions. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate your call.
Thank you, Doug. Have a good day.
You bet. Folks, like our show? Have a question about auctions that you want the show to address? Want to be an advertiser on this show? Well, let me know by emailing me at ddennison@RowellAuctions.com. That's ddennison@RowellAuctions.com. And again, I want to thank everybody for listening in. I want to thank my callers, Stanley Tate, Randy Thomas, Michael Fay, Marla Webb, Walter Liff, and Tommy Rowell. We look forward to seeing you next Friday, same time at 10 a.m. on Friday. Again, folks, have a great weekend. Thank you very much.